All right, welcome back to the show, folks. 407-774-8255 is the number if you want to participate in the conversation. Once again, we have John L. Casey in the studio with us today. He is a now famous climate scientist, and he bases his theories on the solar cycles that are irreversible, unchangeable, and ain't got nothing to do with human beings. But nonetheless, we are the ones who are being blamed for the natural cycle of things. And don't forget, you can visit him at veritense.net. That's veritense.net. Yeah, he's looking at my spelling. I'm not a very good speller. I've got in the line Veritense. To spell Veritense correctly, you go V-E-R-I-T-E-N-C-E. That's short for Veritas and Science. So veritense.net. And you can get a copy of his great book, Dark Winter, there. And it really does lay out his theory. And once again, this is based on data that's millennia old. And these are cycles, once again, that our solar cycles have no bearing on what we do on Earth has no bearing on these cycles, and yet these cycles, of course, also affect other planets in the solar system. Correct, John?
Absolutely, and that's one of the greatest points of refuting this man-made climate change. Anyway, if in fact mankind was affecting the Earth's climate, then it would be limited only to the Earth, and yet when we study the other planets, we see the cycles of climate change that we see on Earth duplicated on the other planets.
Simultaneously?
At the same time. Now that's the key, because unless the reason we had a period of global warming and now a pause on Mars is because we're having the same thing here, and I guarantee you there are no SUVs riding around interstates on Mars.
Well, now wait a minute there. They sent up them Mars probes up yonder now, right? They got to be polluting the atmosphere, right?
Thank goodness solar power.
But in all seriousness, though, we got this recent revelation about Mars, and I don't know if it was just to help to sell tickets to this new movie about going to Mars, or to help sell the actual idea about going to Mars. And I want to get your thoughts about that, because that actually kind of intrigues me. But they come out with this business about there was once a flowing ocean of water on Mars, not an ocean of methane like on some of the other planets, but an ocean of actual water on Mars that is now gone, for the most part at least, because of climate change.
Well, of course, for decades, scientists have thought there was water on Mars.
That's what I thought.
Flowing water. Recent studies by NASA have shown things. There have been recent instances of salt water, for sure, coming out and flowing down the surface and of course evaporates. But the beauty of that is that wherever you find water, fresh or salt, you basically find the most important substance for human life on Earth.
Right.
So we could stay there and operate water. B, water is rocket fuel. And that means we don't have to necessarily carry all our fuel with us wherever we go if we can find the source of water through the good old-fashioned electrolysis, which we learned about in high school. Run a current through water, you can break it down into hydrogen and oxygen gas, and those combined make rocket.
Could you produce enough solar energy on a planet as far away from the sun as Mars to be able to do that efficiently, though?
Well, that's exactly why we've got rovers running around the surface of Mars with very little solar arrays, not these big monsters. And the reason is you don't have the big atmosphere. It deflects a lot of the solar energy that's coming in, so it hits pretty hard when it hits. So you got a lot of solar energy there. But, again, same thing with the moon. We now know with fairly good certainty that at the poles we have, and in certain craters near the poles, we have deposits of water. That's why in the latest planning by NASA to find a colony site, they have identified a crater which they will beam in through reflected mirrors, basically, into the center of the dark crater, break down the water, therefore give us a way of sustaining ourselves. So water is the key wherever we go.
All right. this movie about Mars, of course, and NASA is, well, first of all, you worked in the space program, the shuttle program.
Right.
What's your assessment about the space program now, and what do you think it needs to do from here?
Expletives deleted.
Yes.
Well, of course, like many of those who were in the shuttle program especially, I was deeply disappointed with the lack of leadership on the part of the president. Not only did he cancel it, but most importantly, he left nothing in place. It's okay to cancel an old program as part of a development improvement to the next phase of development. He didn't do that.
Could the shuttles have flown as reliably as they were flying?
Yes, they could have, no question about it. All of the engineering was getting better and better. The safety record was getting better and better. We had the two incidents, the Challenger and the Columbia accident. We learned from all our mistakes. That's one of the beauties of the democracy that we have, especially a great organization like NASA, which unfettered can do even greater things. And that's point number two. I'm very disappointed with the Constellation and Orion concept, because even though it will produce the largest rocket ever made, the mission and where we're going with it is weak in my opinion. We really don't have the leadership in the White House that says, here's what we're going to do in space, here's why we need to be there, here's where we need to be putting more resources. And the third thing is,